Hi, and welcome to 5 Minutes with Phil. I'm Phil Routley, founder and head coach of Soul Impact. We're looking at Timothy, my son, 1 Timothy chapter 5, verses 5 and 6. The widow who is really in need and left all alone puts her hope in God and continues night and day to pray and to ask God for help. But the widow who lives for pleasure is dead even while she lives. Put your hope in God and live, or seek pleasure and you're already dead. That pretty much sums up what these two verses say. They're specifically referencing widows, but they apply to everyone. It's fair to say that the greater the need, the more someone senses their need for the Lord. When you have it all, which applies to the vast majority of people in our culture, it breeds an independence and high arrogance. What do I need God for? I'm doing just fine on my own. If you do a Google search for pleasures of life, you'll find article after article with such intriguing titles as 35 of life's simple pleasures to cherish every day and 101 simple pleasures in life. The list is endless, but the ideas are that first sip of coffee in the morning, taking a bath, the sunset, clothes fresh out of the dryer, sleeping in, dining by candlelight, freshly baked cookies. You get the idea, but that can't be what Paul's writing about. I think it's more eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die kind of pleasures. It does remind me of the rich young ruler. He had everything, fame, fortune, power, and Jesus nailed him on what he was not willing to give up. Go and sell everything, give all the proceeds to the poor, and then follow me. Nope, he couldn't do that. But what if you really are in need? You have nothing, and you put 100% of your hope in God. I'm reminded of the widow who had only 2 cents left and gave it to the temple, when in fact, we become the offering. Well, then you have the resources at your disposal that belong to the one who owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. It's quite a continuum, isn't it? From the desperately needy widow who puts her trust in God to the partying widow who's grabbing all the gusto she can because you only live once. Now, this sounds to me like Timothy, and by extension the church, are called upon to make judgments. But didn't Jesus say, "Do not judge, or you too will be judged," in Matthew 7, verse 1? So who are you to judge? I hate to say it like this, but that's stupid. First, understand what Jesus was talking about. And second, quit judging me by telling me not to judge. What was Jesus talking about? Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. With the measure you use, it will be measured to you. And then, as he often does, Jesus gives an illustration. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, "Let me take the speck out of your eye," when all the time there's a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite. First, take the plank out of your own eye, and then you'll see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. Judging is something we all do every day. When driving a car, you're constantly judging what you are going too fast or too slow, when it's time to change lanes or remain in your lane, to turn left or to turn right. When you walk into a store, you begin judging. Are they offering good value? Are the staff kind? Do they sound like they know what they're talking about? Do they even know you're there? Or are they hounding you? Or a restaurant, or a food truck, or a 5-star hotel, or a Super 8 motel. We judge everything everywhere we go. And sometimes judging is even more important, like when your daughter brings home her new boyfriend. There are numerous versions, but from the TV series of the same name, here are the 8 simple rules to date my daughter. First, use your hands on my daughter, and you'll lose them after. You make her cry, I make you cry. Safe sex is a myth. Anything you try will be hazardous to your health. Bring her home late, there's no next date. If you pull into my driveway and honk, you better be dropping off a package because you're sure not picking anything up. No complaining while you're waiting for her. If you're bored, change my oil. If your pants hang off your hips, I'll gladly secure them with my staple gun. Dates must be in crowded places. You want romance? Read a book. Some lists have a lot more violence attached to them. Of course we judge. You can't live without judging, but you can live without being judgmental. And you can judge in the same way that you expect to be judged. It's a practical outworking of the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Don't set standards for others that you would not hold for yourself. Timothy, when a widow comes to the church in need, first determine whether or not she's actually in need. Then attain if she's in need because others who have an obligation to care for her are instead paying no attention. Finally, from these verses, determine what she would be doing with the resources you would provide and maybe even protect her from what could make her life even worse. A simple practice concerning this final point would be the person who comes to the church seeking help with their rent and some food. It would be best if the church wrote a check to the landlord and not to the person, and if there is a pantry with some non-perishable food that can be distributed. For perishables, a gift card for a local grocery store is far better than cash, even if the gift card would be sold at a discount and the proceeds used to buy beer and cigarettes. Remember what I said about being willing to be burned, or you'll end up helping no one? God bless. See you next time on 5 Minutes with Phil.